In order for Zimmerman to be convicted of this in something other than the Banana Republic court, he would have to have known that Trayvon Martin was 17 years old. You heard that too? Well, I don't think Zimmerman cared how old this guy was when this was all going on. He certainly don't think he knew he was 17, or certainly didn't think he was involved with a child here. Prosecutors said that they would ask that the lesser charges be included as they hammer out jury instructions today. Prosecutors also seeking a child abuse charge against Zimmerman, since Trayvon Martin was 17 at the time of his death. Now, never mind that Zimmerman's lawyers can't defend against either of these new charges. They've rested. They rested their case. So this stuff comes out after they've rested. They have to ask the judge for special dispensation here. Zimmerman's attorney, been on TV all morning, strongly objected to the prosecution's proposal that third-degree murder be included in the instructions. Defense attorney's name is Don West. He called the proposal outrageous, given that it is premised on the idea that Zimmerman committed child abuse since Martin was underage when he was fatally shot. He said, oh, my God, just when I thought this case couldn't get any more bizarre. West questioned how Zimmerman could be charged with child abuse while Martin was on top pummeling him. You're not allowed to defend yourself against children. The judge's name is Deborah Nelson. She said today that she would allow the jurors to consider manslaughter. Arguments on third-degree murder had yet to be made. That's why the defense rested. There were no arguments made on third-degree murder. My dad was a lawyer, but that's the extent of my knowledge here. I just think it's outrageous. And this is what happens in show trials. The only important thing in a show trial is pleasing the people in power and giving the unwashed masses a lesson. Show trials have nothing to do with dispensing justice. They're all about dispensing social justice, which is usually the polar opposite of real justice. Now, I don't know. I would think we've got grounds for an appeal here. But, I mean, who wants to see Zimmerman dragged through the courts again, even on an appeal, even though he might have to do it? I don't know, folks. We've all known. I was on Fox yesterday afternoon on their show at 5 o'clock, and they asked me about this, and I told them that the media, since day one, has been invested in a guilty verdict here based on race. You know, most of the media people that I've met, sports, news, you name it, given their age and generation, the civil rights movement seems to have had a profound impact on informing them of life in America. And they are of the belief that racial injustice is just as prevalent today as it was during slavery, and that we have yet to really make amends for it. And they consistently look at minorities as really constantly always discriminated against. They've got unbridled sympathy, and that's really what it boils down to. They have unbridled sympathy, and I think it's actually insulting. They look at minorities as incapable of handling themselves, incapable of navigating the canals and the rivers and the fjords of life. And it really is it's a put-down way that they look at. It's a contemptible condescension that they have toward minorities while claiming to love them and being in their corner and being their champions and so forth. But to arrive at that position, they've got to believe these people are pretty much incompetent and incapable. And that's why there's never-ending sympathy. So this case comes just like the Duke lacrosse case. It was made to order. It fit the bill. And it didn't matter the nature of the evidence. It was yet another opportunity to prove that America is imperfect and needs to be perfected. It's yet another opportunity to prove that America is not yet the land of justice and freedom for all, and that the people continually denied are blacks, Hispanics, and other minorities, people of color. And so the media champions, here comes a case Even to go to the extent they called Zimmerman a white Hispanic. New York Times, we researched it, only 5 instances in United States history in the media of somebody being called a white Hispanic. Zimmerman was number 5, and the other ones were in inconsequential references. CNN's picked it up now as a white Hispanic, all for the purposes of promoting racial polarization. All for the purposes of promoting a racial divide. So, as is much the case, and is often the case with liberalism, it's the seriousness of the charge that motivates. It's not the nature of the evidence that matters at all. In fact, the nature of the evidence must always be ignored. I first learned of this, by the way,